I am Professor Vel-Ankith, Chair of Xenobiology at the Peloran Institute of Galactic Studies. I have spent my entire life studying intelligent species, their biology, their psychology, their limits. Limits, you see, are what define a species. Every civilization we have ever encountered has them, clear boundaries where survival ends and collapse begins. It is predictable, measurable, understandable. That is why, for most of my career, I believed I understood humans. I had studied their homeworld, a death world by every accepted classification. High gravity, unstable climate systems, predators of alarming efficiency, microbial ecosystems capable of killing from within, radiation fluctuations that would destabilize most known genetic structures. No species evolves under such conditions without becoming specialized, rigid, dependent, fragile outside their narrow survival range. That was my first mistake. The first book, Fragility. My first book, published in 2244, was titled The Fragility of the Terran Species. It was, at the time, considered groundbreaking. My argument was simple. Humans were not weak, but they were context-dependent. Their resilience existed only within the chaotic balance of their homeworld. Remove them from that environment and they would fail. Space travel, I argued, would break them psychologically. Too much isolation, too much uniformity, too little stimulation. A nervous system shaped by chaos cannot survive in silence. That was my conclusion. It was elegant, logical, completely wrong. The first contradiction. Within 6 years, humans had established permanent colonies on 7 planets. 7, each radically different from the last. One with crushing atmospheric pressure. One with near-zero humidity. One with a day cycle 3 times longer than their native world. One with gravity so low that long-term habitation should have caused irreversible physiological degradation. And yet, they adapted. Not slowly, not reluctantly, but completely. Their bodies adjusted. Their cultures shifted. Their psychology expanded. They did not break. They changed. Revision 1. I revised my thesis. Publicly. Reluctantly. Humans, I admitted, were physically adaptable. But adaptation alone does not define a species. Social structure does. And here I believed I had found their limit. The second book, Instability. My second book focused on human society. Their politics were chaotic. Their emotions volatile. Their decision-making often irrational. Most concerning of all, their attachment patterns. Humans form bonds not only with kin, but with strangers, with allies, with abstract concepts, with ideas. This, I argued, would make them unreliable partners in a galactic context. Too unpredictable, too emotionally driven, too human. The book was well received, praised for its nuance, its realism, its caution. And then, it was proven wrong. Almost immediately, The Frozen Moon. The case study that dismantled my second thesis was not a large-scale event. It was one individual, Corporal Diane Torres, human, stationed on a remote communications relay orbiting a frozen moon. During a solar blackout, the relay became the only link between 6 distant colonies. Then, systems began to fail. Evacuation was ordered. Standard protocol. Leave the station. Preserve personnel. The mission. Abandon. She refused. 9 months alone. For 9 months, she remained alone on a frozen moon, maintaining a system designed for a full crew, facing constant mechanical failures, limited supplies, total isolation, no direct oversight, no guarantee of rescue, no additional compensation, no recognition, just silence and responsibility. The reason, when she was finally retrieved, alive but visibly worn, she was asked the obvious question, "Why did you stay?" Her answer was recorded, documented, analyzed, and ultimately, incomprehensible. I couldn't let people lose contact with their families, not for glory, not for duty, not for survival, but for connection. Revision 2. I revised my thesis again, this time with humility. Humans were resilient. Humans formed strong social bonds. But surely, there was a limit. Every species has one. A breaking point, a maximum threshold of endurance. A moment where survival is no longer possible. That became my third book. The third book, The Limit. My third book did not attempt to define humans. It attempted to define their boundary, where they would finally stop, where biology would fail, where psychology would fracture, where endurance would end. It was cautious, measured, respectful, and still wrong. The observation, because right now, as I record this, I am watching something that should not be happening. A human crew is repairing the outer hull of a damaged vessel. From the outside, in open space, during a radiation storm, their protective suits, by their own engineering standards, are rated for 60% of current exposure levels, which means they are operating beyond safe limits. By choice, the impossible detail, they are laughing. One of them is singing, not a formal song, not a structured melody, just sound, casual, unconcerned, as if they are not suspended between life and death, as if this is normal, the breaking point. This is where my understanding collapsed. Not because they survived. That I could accept. Humans survive. That is what they do. But this was different. They were not enduring the situation. They were comfortable in it. The fourth book. I have begun writing my fourth book. Its title is simple, honest, accurate. I was wrong, because I was, fundamentally, repeatedly, the realization. The problem was not my data. The problem was my framework. I kept comparing humans to other species. Kept asking, how much can a species endure? But humans do not fit within that question. The right question, the correct question, the one I should have asked from the beginning, is this: what happens to a species when endurance itself becomes a comfort? The truth about humans. Humans do not merely survive adversity. They adapt to it. Then, they normalize it. And eventually, they miss it when it is gone. Comfort does not define them. Challenge does. Difficulty does. Pressure does. Remove those things, and they do not relax. They search for something harder. The final thought. I do not yet understand why. Is it evolutionary? Psychological? Cultural? Perhaps all three. Or perhaps it is something else entirely. Something unique. Something that cannot be reduced to data points and models. Epilogue. I am Professor Vel-Ankith. I have written 4 books about humans. Every one of them has been wrong. But this time, I am not trying to define them. I am trying to understand them. And I suspect that will take a 5th book.